Sir, why Ikshvakus are moving towards west? Why not to the towards east, where Saraswati River is still fully flowing? And also, the southern sea, where the flood is happening, is that the same location where the excavation is happening?
Yeah,
Excavation was happening.
yes. So I saw the two questions, I mean, very related to your question. So migration of Manu from southern sea is not very clear. Same thing, right?
Yes, sir. I only put the question.
Yeah. So thing is, this particular migration from southern sea to north along the river Sindhu and Saraswati to northwards, this is not fully recorded in Rigveda because it happened before the Rigvedic period, and there is no literature uh, to which is before Rigveda, which actually in a kind of little more with a little more data points capturing it. But this is an inference, very safe inference, because the pre-existing genetic migration patterns, that is human genetic migration from Africa, that passed through the Arabian Peninsula and then slowly grazed through the southern seashore of Iran and Pakistan and landed on into Gujarat. So Gujarat was the kind of entry point for the human migration, which started many lakhs of, I mean, at least 1 lakh years ago. The human migrations was following that trail. That is from the somewhere in the East Central Africa, the oldest human beings, Homo sapiens emerged, and they lived for there for almost 1 lakh years and slowly started migrating. So one migratory path is along the eastern shore of Africa to the shoreline of Arabia, Iran, and what is today Pakistan, and slowly getting into Gujarat. And this all happened long before. Like, it's not like Ṛgvedic period; it's much more earlier. Say like somewhere in the 1 lakh year BC or 75,000 year BC, or even like that. So, and these people migrated northward along the rivers, draining into the southern sea. They migrate. So those rivers are basically like Sindhu River and Saraswati River. Of course, before 1 lakh year, we don't know what is the kind of shape and configuration of the rivers. Because rivers, I said, like within 100 to 100 years, there will be a lot of changes in the migrate. But there was a drainage happening. So we have to use the word drainage. So there was a drainage from Himalaya to the southern sea. And there were rivers flowing from the Himalayas to the southern sea. So these earlier human people who have reached India from Africa, they spread into the northern side through these rivers, which are draining into the Arabian Sea. So my theory about Manu is that Manu basically is not an individual. Basically, it's like an entire generation of people who had a seafaring, like a presence in the seashore. Because the oldest civilizations were in the seashore, and riverine civilization emerged later. That is the kind of consensus that are emerging in all over the archaeology, etc. So these ancient civilization, all of them are mostly riverine in nature. So the Manus, of course, even though this is captured in a later literature, you see Manu is mentioned as a fisherman, Manu is mentioned as a fisherman king, etc., and very much associated with the ocean. So that is why, this is even if it can be considered as a technical term, like no, in the genetic studies we say ancestral Eve, ancestral Adam, etc. So they are using the biblical terminologies for Adam and Eve. They are not actually saying that this is exactly the biblical Adam or Eve. Basically using the terminology. So the Manu people terminology I'm using is exactly the same thing. It is representing the group of people or the most ancient seafaring people, fishermen people, who migrated from the southern seashore and went northwards along the river, because there is no other way. Like that time, everybody has to follow some river bank, and no, any moving that migration take place along the rivers. So there was some existing rivers that is draining from Himalaya to the southern sea. Along that river, they went northward, and finally reached the Haryana region. And then you have a particular Manu who is establishing a civilization, culture, etc. That is what Manusha is about. And if you want to date it, there it can, because Manu is not a single individual, but there can be many different Manus, right? So even the Puranas also, that is the reason why they call so many Manus are there like that. But otherwise, it is a two in a different way, because Manu can be identified, because one Manu can be identified in 8000 BC, another Manu can be identified in 4000 BC, etc. Because Manu is basically, like, you can say, anchor point of civilization steps. So you have, but the oldest Manu can be dated to the Birana, which is around 990 BC, exactly on the banks of Saraswati. There is a Birana, which is the oldest settlement in the entire region, pre-Harappan settlement of Birana. So I identified the oldest settlement of Birana with the oldest Manu, and that is around 8000 BC. And not far away from that, you see Manusha. So that may be another Manu who was living somewhere in 4000 BC, etc. Slightly earlier than the early Ṛgvedic period, starting at 3300 BC. So that is all about Manu migration from southern sea, because it's aligned with the pre-existing genetic migration. And we have to again now, because many people now this big noise is happening all over the internet. Now they look at genetic migration and they automatically think that is language migration. This is completely false, because genetic migrations happen much earlier. Like, you can talk about genetic migration patterns even starting with 8 lakh years, okay, not 8,000 years or 1 lakh years ago, and it continued as late as 4000 BC, etc. By around 4000 BC, the genetic migrations have already done. There is not much changes happen, and language migration starts all from 5000 BC onward, because languages are very new. Indo-European languages cannot be extended to having existed more than 5000 BC. It is too absurd to say that the Indo-European languages existed more than 5, because language has its own speed of evolution. Just like you mentioned, rivers. Every river slightly changes path within 100 years or 200 years. Similarly, languages also is an evolving system. So it cannot withstand 10,000s of years without any change. It can never happen. This is all these people who are dating Ṛgveda 20,000 BC, etc. Just ignoring all this evolution speed of languages or evolution speed of rivers. They ignore everything and talking about everything in the air. So if you look at the real evolution speed of languages, language itself will start changing in a matter of 1,000 years. Because there are the southern languages, right? You have the Dravidian languages or the southern languages. The Malayalam language separated from Tamil in a matter of 1,000 years. That is all it takes. It will become a unique language different from Tamil within 1,000 years. Such a short span of time, two languages diverged. So that is the speed at which language creating. So because of that, what we have is, I would say, is the language migrations, like Indo-European language migration, etc. This has a shorter span, like it happens in a matter of 5,000 years. Whereas genetic migration have a bigger span. It happened in the matter of 10,000s of years. So actually, human genetic migration happen in 1 lakh years total. But language migration happen in 5,000 years. That is all. So they are different things. So what I'm saying is, just I diverge a little bit. What I'm saying is this genetic migration has created a pattern, right? People come in the people from the ocean, so southern ocean region, slowly migrate northward. So the language migration followed that genetic migration path. That is possible, because my ancestors were earlier living in ocean, and now I am living in somewhere close to the mountains in Haryana. So like that, their own generation will continue that same migratory path, because their memory will there. My grandfather went northward, so I will also go northward. So like that, they also continually go in this northward direction. That is the why I say the Manu people migrated. So I will show you the graph also. The Manu people migrated from the Southern Ocean to the Haryana. And of course, we have other data points like Manu, the name of Manu is attested in Haryana. All these things corroborated. So ultimately, their ultimate destination was Haryana. That is very clear. And then the second question is why these people went. Okay, why these people went. Some people went westward, and other people went eastward. Right? That I will explain. So the river Saraswati, how it dried up. Just like you have a candle, you have a thread, lit Diwali thread of light. Just like a slow burning happens from one end of the wick, slow burns, and it completely burns out. Saraswati also dried up in a similar manner. So the dryness started somewhere around this point, and slowly it become dry like this. That is, dryness extended in a north eastward direction. Like that, it started drying. So people who are living in this region, they were the ancestors of the Western Ikshvakos, right? So when the dryness picked up from here, this is the Thar Desert. No, this is the Thar Desert. So the dryness slowly engulfed this particular region of Saraswati. So these people started moving northeastward. And then when they reached this point, they decided to abandon River Saraswati because it's no longer sustainable. So they have a choice whether to move eastwards or westward. The choice is very clear, because this migration happened much earlier than the eastward migration. At that time, only the western side is prosperous. So this side, the Ṛgvedic side, this is a Ṛgvedic geographical region. This is the prosperous region. Whereas this was like a countryside with nothing much there. In the early Ṛgvedic period, this is the prosperous region. Now, this is also the Harappan heartland. That is why the Indus Valley city is also here. So this is the prosperous region. This is something like a countryside. So naturally, the earliest migrated from Saraswati migrated westwards. They migrated, and then they found a river along the river Saraswati, where the Soma is a Soma-growing region. That is why it's a very rich region. This is why Sarayu River is, like you can see, it is a very small river, but it is a very important for the Ṛgvedic civilization, because it is a Soma growing region. And that was the industrial, you can say a rich region where Soma was the most important item for the Vedic people. So that's why it became very important region. So they settled on the banks of Sarayu River, of a tributary of Sindhu River. And of course, these Ikshvakos were living in this larger area. That's why you have a Gomati River here. So one river or one tributary of Sindhu is called Gomati, which is here into the western side. Another river is called Sarayu. And if you look at here, in the same topology is there in the Ganga region. The river, the tributary of Ganga on the right hand side is Sarayu, and the left hand side is Gomati. So this Gomati, Sarayu, both in the, as a mirror image reflection, happen in both in the east and west, because same people migrated. Of course, the western side migrated earlier, because the western side is more prosperous than the eastern side. And of course, subsequently, what happens is that there was a race towards people going to Ganga River, because in the late Ṛgvedic period, the most interesting river was Ganga. After Saraswati dried out, everybody wanted to be on the banks of Ganga River. So that is why some of the ancestors of Rama, like Bhagirath, went to Ganga. It's a subject matter of my second book, where I say that Sagara, this ancestral Sarayu, there was a king called Sagara, and Sagara's territory dried up. That is what he is. His sons are mentioned at digging the land, basically searching for horse. But horse is a symbol for water. So the Sagara's sons were searching for water in this region, but finally they didn't find anything. And later, one of the grandson of Sagara, Amshumat, went he went eastward, and they gave the name Amshumati for the Yamuna River. That is Amshumati River. And his son Dilipa tried to establish himself on Ganga, but failed. But Dilipa's son Bhagiratha was able to establish on Ganga. That is the Puranic people say that Bhagiratha brought Ganga, but actually he went to Ganga. But the poets say that Ganga came to Bhagiratha. But no, the mirror, they just reverse just for the poetic imagination and exaggeration. They say Bhagiratha brought Ganga, whereas the historical reality is Bhagiratha brought himself and his people settle on Ganga River, because the river doesn't follow the any king, any person. It's only exists in poetry. But really, what happened? The person went to the river and settled on the bank. And subsequently, Bhagiratha's descendants like Greku was on Gomati, and Greku's descendant Aja Dasharatha and Rama was from Sarayu. So this is the eastern migration. Similarly, the earlier period, the people migrated westwards. Like some of the kings in the Sarayu River is Trasadasya and Purukutsa, very famously mentioned in Rigveda. The Ṛgvedic geography is towards the northwestern side, so these kings are well recorded in the Rigveda. And Mahabharata geography is somewhere in the middle, like here, like the Kuru and Hastinapura, Indraprastha were here, so here. And Ramayana geography is somewhere centered around the Ayodhya. So they don't have any kind of interest in this side, very less interest in this side. So they don't talk about much about this side. So I think that's clear. Rajesh, so it's about Manu coming from Dakshina region towards northern lands after the floods. Yeah. So there are lot of variations about where from Manu come. But see, some of this Dakshina, no, that is in the Puranas, Malsya Purana, etc. They mentioned the Dravida region from where Manu came, etc. Is another important alternate theory about Manu's origin. But unfortunately, I am not able to give a kind of archaeological or literary trace for that kind of a scenario. So I have to consider it as a later, because anyway Puranas are later text. So in the absence of any other evidence, I have to reject it. So there is as this Rajesh has mentioned, there is an interesting theory that the Manu is a Dravida king and he ruled in somewhere in the Andhra Pradesh, Sriharikota, where I was there for 5 years as part of ISRA. So as per one theory, Manu was ruling that region, the Dravida region. Dravida as distinct from Chola Pandya Kerala, the Dravida kingdom itself in the southern Andhra Pradesh, with even Sriharikota being the city, capital city of the Dravida kingdom. And Manu was ruling that region, Dravida region. Of course, it can be considered as all over South India also, but some specifically. So that theory is also very interesting. Of course, I have written about it in my website, Ancient Voice, etc. But when I am writing this book on rivers of Rigveda, I don't get any evidence to support. I mean, just because one theory, you need multiple correlatable evidences, right? That is how everything I mentioned in my book is not just one reason. I put 4 or 5 reasons, additional reasons, getting into the same result. So I need something like that, and I didn't find that for this. And again, the word Dravida itself is a very late terminology. It came very late. I mean, it's not there in the Rigveda, and starting with like Ramayana and Mahabharata. The word Dravida is come. So it's a late Rigvedic. But of course, there are many other things like Panchala is not Rigvedic, or Ikshvaku also coming in late, only once in late Rigvedic and much more in the post Rigvedic period. Panchala came post. So sometimes it may be like they are referring to the people, even though referring them with a new name. That possibility is there. So maybe in the Rigvedic period or pre-Rigvedic period, they were not known as Dravidas, but they were some southern people. And now later on, the terminology of Dravida came, and then people use that terminology for referring to the same old people. That possibility is there. But to tracing out from Andhra Pradesh to Haryana, I don't see any evidence. Or from southern India to Haryana, I don't see any evidence. Again, it goes against the existing genetic migration, no, because from Africa, the entry point is Gujarat. And from Gujarat, the North Indians, the ancestral North Indian migrated along the Saraswati and Sindhu River northwards, and ancestral South Indian migrated from Gujarat to southward along the Maharashtra sea coast and went to Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and then traced the eastern seashore of India and went to Southeast Asia and finally reached Australia and New Zealand. This is the migration pattern. So in that migration pattern itself, we have to consider Gujarat as the main important point. Gujarat is ancestor for both North India and South India. So Manu, better to be identifying with the Gujarat seashore, whatever I identified as a southern ocean, the Ran of Kutch region and all the seashore around Gujarat region. That is the most ancestral place. From there, the southern Indians migrated southwards. All of the southern Indian people migrated from Gujarat to southwards, and the northern Indian migrated from Gujarat to northwards along Saraswati and Sindhu. So in that scenario, the Andhra Pradesh Dravida region doesn't come into place. That is another reason.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
One question I had was in your images you were showing Sarayu. On the western side, I saw that there were two tributaries named as Sarayu. Just wanted to know if there were two separate tributaries or.
No, these are like sequential movement of people. I will take it once again. That's a very important question. Okay, this is being a very important chapter. I can spend a little more time on it. Uh, you will see, like for example, there is this Sarayu River, because along this their migratory path, right? This is a migratory path. So the Saraswati itself was the most ancient Sarayu, and then as they migrate, there is a possibility that during that, because this migration take place in like in a matter of 100 years or 200 years, right? So there is a possibility of them naming this Sududri River as Sarayu, that I have mentioned in my book actually. And finally, there is a final destination Sarayu, which will stick for a longer period of time, because this is their final destination. So this is the additional Sarayu I have mentioned. This is the one Sarayu. This is Saraswati itself I have mentioned as ancestral Sarayu, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
there is only two. This is the ancestral Sarayu, which is, I will keep on repeating it everywhere because this same river, Sarayu, Saraswati. That
Right.
is this Saraswati is a Sarayu, the ancestral Sarayu. And then your final destination Sarayu is this one. And of course, there is second final destination in the eastern side, this Sarayu. And theoretically, it is possible that when they migrate, they may be putting the intermediary, all the rivers, they may even name it as Sarayu, but they will not tick. Maybe one generation will call it, but second generation will not use that same name. So there is a additional possibility of Sududri to be called as Sarayu, but it is a very temporary. Maybe it cannot be captured in any literature because it will just disappear in a matter of 25 years, one generation period. So that is why it is not ticking. But final destinations always tick. There is Sarayu here, there is Sarayu here, and there is an ancestral Sarayu, that is Saraswati. There are only three things. And of course, this Haro river, this Sarayu is also known as Harayu in the Western literature. And the Western people migrated to Afghanistan. So maybe in their later literature, they may have given another river identified with that we don't care about it. We are not bothered about it. So even Harirudh can be, they may have identified with Harirudh with Harayu river in their much later Persian literature, which we are not bothered about.
Sir, one last question.
Yeah.
You mentioned Shrikant Talagiri sir also was working on this Sarayu River, right?
Yeah.
And after that, you mentioned that you have come across these findings.
Hmm.
How was your findings taken by them or people who were actually working on the Sarayu River?
Yeah. So
any consensus?
So Talagiri, see, this is all happened in a matter of 2 years, right? So I written my book Rivers of Ṛgveda in 2022 January. So currently it is just a matter of 2 years. There is a complete discussion going on, like with me and Srikant Talagiri about why he says it is on the Afghanistan side. Harirudh, as he's frozen onto that idea that Sarayu is the Harirudh in Afghanistan. And I have convinced myself that Sarayu is the Haro river of this eastern tributary of Sindhu in Pakistan. So I put forward my point of view, and he put forward his point of view. And there can be, like, because it's too premature to conclude. So I just put my point, like these are my points I am putting. And based on that, I am convinced that Afghanistan cannot be considered as the place where Sarayu can be located. Aryan invasion theory is locating it because they consider the migration coming from Central Asia through Afghanistan and then to our territory. But as an out of India theory, no, it cannot afford to place it in that direction into the Afghanistan. And not only it's not I wish for it, because the data doesn't show it, because as I said, the Ṛgvedic horizon is only reaching up to the east of Sindhu till the fourth mandala, when the Sarayu is mentioned for the first time. That means you have to locate Sarayu river to the east of Sindhu only. And subsequently, in the fifth mandala onwards, the western tributary of Sindhu is explored, and the western side of Sindhu is more clear to the Vedic people. And even after that is all happened in the fifth mandala, means somewhat in the late period. And then the very late period in the 10th Mandala period only, I have seen some kind of evidence to say that they crossed the Afghanistan. Like maybe I'll take some of the I think there was some of this map, if it is found. Let me check. Yeah, this is the Ashmanwati. You are seeing or I have closed the sharing.
No, sir, I can't see it.
There is this river called Ashmanwati, which is this Ashmanwati river is there, which is somewhat identified with one of the tributaries of Kabul in Afghanistan. And it also talks about some pathways, etc., which are all very clear only in the 10th Mandala period. So, of course, the exploration of the Afghanistan was along the Kabul River, the Kupha River. And even if you look at archaeology, it stops at where the origin point of Kabul River. So this is the origin point of Kabul River. So somewhere this much region is the eastern Afghanistan. So Ṛgvedic horizon end at the eastern Afghanistan, wherever the Kabul River ends, the Kupha River ends. Even in archaeology also it is the same situation. And Harirudh and all, this is the Harirudh River. Here it is the Harirudh River. It's too far away, and I don't see any. This is too far away. This is the region where the Sarayu is identified by Talagiri. You see how far away it is. That completely different category of rivers. Right? It's all these rivers are on the other side of the mountains. This is Afghanistan mountains, and along this Afghanistan mountain, the Kabul River is flowing from this Afghanistan mountain, which acts as a natural barrier. This is a natural barrier actually. So Kabul River at least is within our territory, because see, this is all the plain. This slightly yellowish color is a plain. So people, all the civilization will reach up to the origin point of Kabul River. After the Kabul River, this is a very high mountain, right? This Khyber and Khyber Pass, everything is there, through which the invaders came. And this Harirudh River identified Sarayu is here. And there is no point in going this. Of course, first of all these people with all their mounts going to the mountainous region itself is out of question. And this is the Aryan invasion theory, Ṛgvedic. So Ṛgvedic is there, Harirudh is there. So this is what Aryan invasion theory identified as Saraswati and Sarayu. You can see completely out of place geographies. Only up to Kuba River is within our kind of a territory. Right? The Kuba River is because it is on the eastern side of the high mountains, inaccessible mountains. And culture doesn't cross. It is very difficult for any culture to cross such a big mountains and then go here. From here on this, after crossing this mountain is a totally different culture actually. This is a Central Asian culture, starting with this particular point. This is actually a natural barrier. And after this natural barrier to the west of it, the Ṛgvedic and Harirudh is there. So my theory is that like the people migrated, and of course the theory about even about Talagiri also says that people migrated from the northwestern India to crossing the mountains. They went to Afghanistan and Iran. So those people have memory of Saraswati and Sarayu with them. So they will, in a much later period, after Rigveda is over, after Rama also lived, and after Pandavas also lived, they will settle in somewhere in the mountain region. They will, with that their memory, they will give some names like Ṛgvedic and Harirudh. That is completely, I mean, as far as I am concerned, I'm not bothered about it. If they do it, they can go in Europe also, and they can give some name for like that. But I am not concerned about it.
Got it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, right. I think it was a long discussion, but this is the Survey is the most important chapter in the book also, the Rivers of Rigveda, and it contains so many complicated things I have explaining in that chapter. And today we can consider as the part 1 of it. Maybe the next session, maybe part 2 if it is required. If I need, I'll check in my book whether I need to explain anything more, and then we can have the next session as the part 2 of it, or we'll go to the next event like that. So I think we can conclude today.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, it was indeed a long session. We are almost close to
Yeah.
8:45. So thank you so much, all participants, for your enthusiastic participation. So let's wind up the session with the Shanti Mantra. Om Lokaha Samstaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samstaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samstaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om.